This is the Two Scrappy Chicks podcast where life is messy, the stories are real, and we dare to talk about it anyway.
All right. This is the Valleys recap, season 3, part 3 of the reunion. Honestly, I didn't write as much as I usually do. So, it was kind of, I don't see why they needed 3 parts. We'll put it that way. It seemed like the same stuff, asked differently in each part. So, it left off about Jasmine's wedding and Danny. And Andy asked Danny, were you drinking? He said, no, there was an after party. And Nia had texted Jesse and says, please don't encourage him to come to the after party because she wanted him with her. And there's nothing wrong with that. Um, Supposedly, when Danny went to get, I'm sorry, when Jesse went to go get Danny to bring him back to his room, Danny was watching TV because it was the Knicks game, and he had no shoes and his tank top. And tank top on. Well, he probably got all hot and sweaty. Maybe he was boogieing. So, whatever. Um, as far as like, oh, getting back to Nia and Danny, Lala said it was a red flag that Nia wanted to not, Danny go to the after party. Lala wasn't at the wedding. She was at a baby shower for her best friend, I think, back in Utah. But I did not understand what Lala was getting at. Red flag. Um, and then Andy had asked, because of what happened last year, you know, can we move on? So, he asked us to, I don't know why, to Jason and Zach. Uh, so let me just keep moving on. Brittany feels that the way Nia protects Danny reminds her how she used to protect Jax with that. And Danny did admit that, with his drinking, how, it caused issues. He is working with somebody, and, but he did say that last season, Jax did call people and put a target on his back. And then Lala pipes in, you can't blame others for your drinking. And, you hid your drinking. And then Andy asked Lala, did you say you hope that Nia leaves Danny and finds someone else? And she said, yes, I did say that. I hope Nia would go be with somebody better, which I don't know. That pretty much Nia and Danny's, or more so Nia, pretty much, said, you don't know what goes on, totally with our life. So both of them didn't appreciate that comment. Okay. And then Michelle complaining about Jesse is more affectionate with Lacey. And, and then Jesse's like, because she's complaining how she doesn't want to see them being affectionate. And he had to remind her, I seen you and Aaron last year in Hawaii like that. So I think that's a Michelle problem. And with them going back and forth about it, Lacey said, "It's your tit for tat, you two, that wants to make me jump off a bridge." Poor girl. Oh, oh, Lacey, gotta love her. I really grown to like her because I think she's the most sensible one there. She doesn't get catty, argumentative, and nasty like some of them can. All right. Then Andy brings up about how Janet told Lala in Mexico about her story. And Janet says, "Oh, I trust Lala, and we got real close. They're like BFFs now." So apparently, Janet was 12 when this abuse happened, and um, Janet had an addictive, abusive dad. And then she was asked, "Why didn't you bring it up sooner?" And which makes people think, like, was her story true? Kristen apologizes. "I see you. It happened to me. I believe you." Um, Jasmine, then we go to Jasmine, and she said she didn't feel she had the space last year or like even times this year. Like she was ignored, seen but not heard, kind of thing. Oh, all right. And then Kristen, you know, gets emotional. And then Andy asked, why did she call out her closest friends like that? And Kristen said, after seeing that on TV, she called Zach and she apologized to Jasmine and Brittany and, apologized. And Jasmine says, we are your family. And Jasmine felt like she would stick up for the other side, but not their side, when it came to the group, because the group was on one side and then the other. Okay. And Kristen and Luke did go to Jasmine and Melissa's wedding. All right. Schwartz said to Kristen, he feels like there's unresolved relationship trauma, which, is why she's acting the way she is. And and then he kind of retracted. He's like, I'm sorry, Kristen. But Kristen does like kind of sabotage and pushes Luke away and says, "You're gonna leave me, you're gonna leave me." So um that was that as far as Kristen and Luke. And then Lala claimed she did not insert herself when it came to the discussions with Danny. But I'm confused because she came and sat down at the table and they were talking and then she starts, piping in. So how is that not inserting yourself? I don't know. Okay, Brittany's party. And he asks Jasmine and Michelle if they're good. Well, yeah, they're good, but Jasmine made a comment like, you can't be friends with everybody or something. So, um, perhaps they're not. I know Jesse did go to her wedding. Lacey didn't. Well, she wasn't in any pictures, but I think Jasmine was more so on Danny's side than Michelle. So, doesn't look like those two will be hanging out and be friends. And then they were talking about uh, Isabella. their daughter, Michelle and Jesse. And Andy said to Lala, "Do you trust Michelle's doing a great job?" And Lala thought so. And, even Jesse did. It's just, he was concerned, how many people is she going to meet? And even though Michelle dated that comedian, she didn't introduce him as her boyfriend to Isabel, more her friend. And now supposedly she's with Dr. Dre, so who knows? And and then Andy asked Janet, "Did you regret throwing the drink at Danny?" And she said, "Yeah." And then he asked people to raise your hand if you thought that that was bad, and majority of them did raise their hand. Then Andy asked Nia about the terrible people comment, and Nia apologized, for saying that. And she's like, "I was very heated in that. It was in the moment." So, yeah, I get that. We say things that we may regret later. Um, I just don't see Danny and Nia being friends with Janet, Jason, and Lala. So, uh, then he asked Danny, "So where do we go from here?" And Danny's like, "I don't know." And as far as Janet and Jasmine, their friendship is in a better place because her and Jason did come to the wedding. As far as who came to the wedding was Janet, Jason, Kristen, Luke, Zach, Brittany, Schwartz. I think he brought Kiana and then Jesse, but I didn't see Lacey. I don't think she went. And then Andy asked Jasmine, he told her congratulations, and then, "Are you guys gonna have kids soon?" And she says, "Yeah, we're working on it. I don't know who's gonna carry." She didn't say, but they're looking for a donor, and then they were joking around of Luke, because back in the day, Luke donated, and then Jesse joked around he would. So then it ended with Melissa and Benji coming out to toast, and they took a group picture, and then that was it. Now, here's why I'm disappointed. We kept hearing rumors that the cameras went back up when this Jax, Taylor, and Lori thing came out. So, and nothing. So, does that mean we have a season 4 coming? I don't know. But apparently, Jax Taylor has been blocking anyone that like talks bad about him, like on a podcast, or even if this person has the podcast and he reality Steve put down in his Instagram he's been blocked by Jax Taylor. And I was just like, "Oh, interesting." And I don't know. What do you guys think? Should I reach out and have Jax and Lori on the podcast so we can hear their story? They've been kind of quiet, and if they've been followed around by the paparazzi, they just like try to get away. So, yeah. Uh, Tell me either in our group, like make sure you're in our Facebook group, and then liking our Facebook page. We're on TikTok, on Instagram. Make sure, and then our email. So, taking a poll. Let me know if you want me to reach out to Jax Taylor and Lori and get them on and hear their story. And how do you say one of the reality shows today? I'm Switzerland. So yeah, um, totally be unbiased, not taking sides, because if Jax knew if I was favoring Brittany, he probably wouldn't do it and then would, like, But yeah, I'm just curious what he has to say. All right. Well, that's it. I am a little behind. I did watch Ladies of London. It didn't record last night. I don't know why. I have it set to record automatically and it didn't. So I had to record it for later and I watched both episodes, but I do not have it in me to do the recap right now. I will do it tomorrow, hopefully, because it's 2 episodes. So, and I need to wrap up Stassi. I need to start that new age, what was it called? Age inappropriate. Um, and I seen Alan Cummings was on, I think Kelly and Mark today. So that must mean the traders, which will just be regular people and not famous people, that should be starting soon. So I will definitely do recaps on that. So yeah, and then Big Brother, I'll probably just do another short one like I did today. And then Married at First Sight, that may not, my recap may not be out till Saturday because Friday, um, after work, I am going to a sound healing and to meet mini Highlands cows. So yeah, that's going to be fun. Um, and then next week we have Harry Jowsey's reunion, so that should be good. Oh, also tomorrow is Real Housewives of the OC. I will probably, as far as Friday, I will probably get OC and Big Brother out. And then when it comes to London, it's probably not going to happen till Saturday, along with Married at First Sight. So, all right, well, that's about it. And I am headed off to bed. Till next time, bye. We really appreciate you hanging out with the two scrappy chicks today. If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to like, subscribe, download, and share it with a friend. And if you have any questions or topics you'd like us to cover, just let us know.